Hi everyone, I'm Hamza. It's nice to meet all of you. Today I'm going to be showing you a kind of a sample presentation of what you guys are expected to do for your own presentations. I know a lot of you have probably maybe started on it or are starting to think about how you want to present your idea. So this is kind of a presentation to show you, hey, this is how we're supposed to kind of present our solution for our assignment, okay? So the first slide you're gonna see and you're gonna want to put is obviously like a creative solution title for your project. You want to have something that's catchy, something that's memorable, and you also want to obviously list your group members' names on that first slide as well. And then from there, you kind of want to move on to saying, hey, this is the prompt we chose to kind of discover and divulge our research into. So you want to put your prompt. For example, this is the prompt we decided to choose. So you just want to kind of state what the prompt is. You can more or less copy paste this. It's okay. You don't have to cite it or anything. So just kind of say the prompt you're gonna be kind of basing your project on. So we have an idea of what like your solution's actually for. So in this case, the prompt we're using is Sophia, a 26-year-old software engineer, is thriving in her career but struggling with her mental health. Her long work hours, constant digital communication, and the pressure to succeed have left her feeling burned out and isolated. And she wants to prioritize her well-being, but finds traditional therapy expensive, time-consuming, and not always accessible. And mental health apps offer general advice, but they lack the human connection and personalization she needs. And in a world where mental wellness is just as crucial as physical health, how can we create innovative solutions to support young professionals like Sophia? So this one kind of is similar to a lot of the prompts we gave you, but more based on mental health, and it is kind of about the technology aspect of it. So kind of read through that if you're more interested in learning about this specific prompt, but we won't go super into depth about like the prompt and how to think about it because that's something you have to do on your own time for this assignment. Okay, and then the next slide, you should be providing some context to your prompt. So you should be discussing what's the main problem here, why is there an issue, or any other similar questions you can think of that pop up. So you want to discuss that, and to kind of understand the problems, you want to kind of think about, hey, what specific challenges are occurring, what things are preventing the person from maybe getting what they need. For example, for our prompt, you could ask, hey, what specific mental health challenges is Sophia facing, and what factors could be contributing to her struggles? You could be thinking like academic pressure, some sort of stigmatization of mental health, or maybe lack of access to mental health resources, or anything similar to that. So you kind of want to discuss those ideas, but obviously for your own prompts. And then another one for this example could be, so what are some of the key barriers preventing Sophia from getting the support she needs? Some examples of this could be maybe finances, maybe she can't afford to get the help she needs, or maybe she has time limitations because of maybe work or school or something similar, or fear of judgment, which obviously goes back to that idea of stigmatization. Okay. And then after that, you kind of want to get more into the literature aspects of things. So by literature, we mean like your research, whether it be from journals, articles, videos, whatever you decide. So this is where you kind of want to review the relevant research you've done, summarize the current findings you found, some prior solutions to this prompt, and maybe some ongoing studies related to your chosen topic. And obviously, you need to cite your sources, which we'll kind of get into in another presentation on how to actually cite your sources, but you should be citing them in your presentation so we know where they come from. So, one example of something you can maybe ask in terms of, hey, how should I research is like, let's say for our prompt is why is the current system inadequate for addressing Sophia's needs? So maybe you can think about long wait times, generic support, lack of personalized care, or anything similar to that. And then in here, you kind of want to also introduce key outcomes that are important to address. So you kind of want to briefly describe like your objectives with your own solutions that you're aiming to kind of achieve and kind of bring all your research together to say, hey, this is what we think needs help, and this is the solution that we're planning to do. Then obviously that leads into the actual solution itself. So the first thing you want to do is have a very short introduction of what your solution is before really going into the details. This should be like one, maybe two, three sentences at most. So just something brief. It doesn't have to be like a whole paragraph outlining everything. And then you obviously want to also say, hey, this is the target audience. This is who's going to benefit from our solution. It can be general, like let's say all of Canada, or specific, let's say people living in Markham, or even more specific, like let's say people living in Markham who have a dog, something, whatever you think your target should be, that's kind of what you should put on this slide, and maybe explain it a little bit if you feel you need to explain it. And then from there, you can go on to the method and strategy for your approach, for your solution. So kind of outline, hey, this is how we're gonna do this solution. This is how it's gonna work. This is the strategies we're using to implement this. So these can be maybe educational programs, maybe some kind of technology that you could maybe invent or research to say, hey, this is new technology that's coming out and it could help be a solution for whatever prompt you chose, or maybe some kind of community aspect activity, whatever you think would work as a solution to your prompt. And then you also want to ensure efficacy. So describe why these methods are suitable for your target audience. Talk about accessibility, effectiveness, and engagement. For instance, let's say our target audience is older adults. Maybe technology wouldn't be the most suitable to that target, so maybe avoid doing that just because there are issues of technology, let's say literacy, or being able to actually use it, or let's say with educational programs, a lot of times they aren't super accessible. So those are just some things you can think about when talking about efficacy. Okay. And then from there, you can talk more specifically about the actual implementation of your project. So you want to kind of say, hey, this is our implementation plan. This is how we're actually going to be delivering the solution. This is how long it's going to take. This is where it's going to be taking place. This is how much it's going to cost. And this is who's going to actually facilitate it or run it, let's say like staff or volunteers. And you kind of need to consider the feasibility of actually being able to do that. For instance, if you want to maybe uplift the amount of students in a school that exercise. Maybe it's not the most realistic thing to spend like $12 million to get maybe 60 kids more active. It's not feasible. So you kind of have to think in the long term, hey, is this gonna work out, or is this something we could actually do in our, let's say, daily lives or in the real world? And then you kind of want to have your solution be something that can work over long term to ensure it's sustainable, such as maybe having partnerships with other programs or schools or whatever your prompt or solution is. Kind of think about partnerships that could help make it last longer. And then ways you can find ongoing support, or how you can maybe adapt your project over time. Let's say new technology comes out, hey, let's shift from this technology and use this newer, better technology and keep our solution going for longer and keep this prompt that we chose to discuss. Hey, this is the problem. This is the solution right now. In a few years, maybe the solution got better, so shift over to that, right? And that's kind of how you want to think about things while doing your presentation. Okay. And then you can maybe have something like this to maybe talk more about the cost, the time, where you want it to go. So let's say for a theoretical project, this costs $2 million. It'll take 8 to 10 months to implement, and it's for all of Canada. And then you can find actual statistics from other programs, or you can maybe make an educated guess regarding your solutions if you can't really find any sort of research that kind of indicates, hey, this is how much similar solutions have costed, or this is how long they took. So, uh, as always, research is great, but if you can't find it, it's okay. You can maybe just think about something that's realistic and would work. And then obviously you would want to cite those sources if you did use research articles to help inform your decision as to the cost or time or reach of your project. And yeah, so that's maybe that's the implementation aspect of your presentation. And then from there, you'd kind of want to talk about the steps. So let's say step one, step two, step three, step four. So let's say for step one, you want to implement, let's say, a technology. For step one, you can maybe be like, hey, make a team or find a team or hire a team of people to help you do it. Step two could maybe be like, hey, talk to the company that makes the technology. Step three could be uh, acquire the technology and learn how to use it or find or maybe step four could then be, hey, this is give out the technology and kind of reach out to different, let's say, programs or different like centers or anything like that that could help you bring this technology to the target audience you're trying to reach. Okay. And then from there, you want to talk about the evaluation and assessment aspect of your project. So you want to define kind of markers of success. So these could be metrics like behavior change, satisfaction level, measurable improvements that you could see from your project. And you kind of want to talk about, hey, this is what we'd be looking for in terms of, hey, did our solution actually work? And then from there, you kind of want to talk about, okay, we know what we want to show. Hey, this is what shows it's successful. Data collection is how do you find out how it's successful? And this can be done different ways. It can be done through surveys, tracking tools, feedback forms to kind of evaluate the efficacy of your solution over time. And then from there, you kind of want to talk about your projected timeline, like we talked about before, estimate how long it's going to take to roll out from initial to the full implementation of your project. Okay. And then obviously you have to talk about the practicality of your solution. So, like we discussed in our first presentation, there are three things that make a solution practicable, and that's the feasibility, impact, and sustainability of the project. I won't review them too much in depth right now, but they're on the left there for you. And then obviously you want to keep in mind what sustainability means in a healthcare setting, and that kind of means like, hey, optimize use of resources, so something that doesn't cost too much, but works pretty well and doesn't require constant attention from healthcare providers, something that works long term, reducing maybe need for people to seek additional help for the same issues. And then obviously accessibility, how easily can people actually access the solution? How can it be implemented in the majority of Canada or other countries or like a city? So think about those things and think about how your solution in itself can be practical and how you can present that for your projects. Okay. And then you'd want to kind of have a summary slide about, hey, this is what our project vision was, this is our goal, and this is how we can impact the community. And then you'd want to highlight some of the broader vision, uh, how your project works in the long term, how it can maybe contribute to the solution effectively. This is kind of just a summary of everything you talked about before, so shouldn't be too long, maybe a few points, maybe one, maybe two slides max, but it should just be something that's, hey, this is what we talked about, this is what our solution was, this is how it's gonna work, and this is uh, how it works in the long term. Okay. And then lastly, you'd want to show your citations. So, like we talked about before, we want you to have a citation page. So, it would look something like this. You'd want to write references and then put your citations right there. We're going to have another presentation for you that talks a little bit more in depth as to how to actually make citations and how to make in-text citations and how all that works. So, don't be too alarmed if you don't know how to do it right now. But this is an example of how you could do it. if all your citations don't fit on one page, you can obviously have maybe like two or three or even more than that if you have a lot of citations that you want to put for your projects, but you don't need to cram everything on one slide. So just have these slides just so we know that, hey, you actually did research and that had a you actually got your ideas from like credible sources and you didn't make them up, right? Okay. And then after that, just make a basic slide that just says, hey, any questions from the audience, and then put your group member's name. And that's more or less how you should be presenting your projects. If you guys have any questions for our team, feel free to reach out via our email or ask your own teacher about any questions you might have. So maybe he can ask us and then we can get back to you. But other than that, thank you for watching the video. We really appreciate your support and your hard work on this project. And we wish you good luck with everything. And we're going to be sending you another presentation regarding the citation soon. So stay on the lookout for that. Thank you.